Alright, in today's video, I'm going to prove to you why most agencies suck and how you can make more money while doing way less work, especially as a beginner. Okay, and the main problem is that most agencies want to provide as many services as possible so they can capture most of the market and fulfill as many needs of the clients as possible. But this leads to 5 or 4 big problems. Okay, so the first one is they attract no clients at all, they get paid less, they waste hundreds of hours before even getting a client, and they are stuck in the fulfillment part forever. Okay, and we will go through all of these cases and I will show you the solution to all of them at the end. So, first of all, the main problem is that they provide many services and they think that many services will lead to many clients. Okay, so for example, they provide content creation, running ads, SEO, website building, AI chatbots, AI voice agents, or whatever. So many services, and they just want to try to find a client, then see what the client needs, and then just provide the solution for the client afterwards. And this is like the mentality that many beginners have, because they think, hey, if I provide so many services, there will be clients that need my services, so I can just adapt myself and provide whatever they need. But the big problem is that many services does not mean many clients. Many services most times mean 0 clients, right? Because people want a specialist to achieve what they need with the best result possible, not a generalist who is just okay at 10 different services. So if somebody wants to get a job done, for example, if they want to get more leads with like Facebook ads, for example, then they want to get the thing they need to get done, for example, the Facebook ads, they want to get the best results out of that. So they want somebody who can guarantee them the results, like a specialist, and not somebody who is doing different things just to get a job done, right? So imagine this, there are 2 agencies. The first agency has no case studies, is good at everything, is new on the market and not established. And the second agency has great case studies, is specialized on fixing one problem, has 5+ year experience, for example, and has XYZ as a client. So the left agency is your agency. The right one are all the other agencies out there. Okay. And which agency is more attractive for clients? What do you think? Of course, the right one. So if you have like an agency that provides everything or like many services, then you have to compete only on like the lowest price and the most in-depth experience. So if you still want to get clients as an agency who provides everything, you have to either have more experience than they have, or you need to have the lowest price. The lowest price is a race to the bottom, and the most experience you won't probably have if you're just starting out and if you compete against agencies with 5 years plus experience, for example. Okay. And no matter what, this leads to the next problem, because in order to be able to provide many services, you need to master all of them. Okay, so you need to master, for example, content creation, ads, SEO, website building, AI chatbots, AI voice agents, whatever you all provide. You need to master all of them, because it can happen that you get a client and then you need to be good at what you provide. So you have to prepare for all the cases that could potentially happen, so that if a client says, for example, hey, I want to get this and this, then you just need to fulfill it, right? So you need to learn all of the skills that you want to provide, and you have to be really good at them in order to provide them. So that takes you at least 8 to 12 months to actually master them if you're really quick and you have the right information. So this will delay the outreach by 8 to 12 months. Okay, so you first of all have to learn all the skills before you can even start doing the outreach. Because if you are lucky and you get a client, then you need to be good at what you offer. Okay, and we are not counting the people who quit at this stage, because once you're 8 to 12 months in without any results, because you are just learning about the services, you're in the perfect stage for quitting. So most of you will even quit here because there's like no cash flow after 8 to 12 months. Okay, but let's say you figured everything out and made no money for 8 months, and now you are finally ready to start outreaching. Then you still have to adapt everything you learned over and over again, since all cases are unique for each new client, which leads to long onboarding cycles, delayed money, unsatisfied customers, and wasted time. Okay, so even if you are an expert in all of these areas, what's really unlikely, and somebody wants to, I don't know, get like an AI chatbot for their unique niche, whatever, then you have to learn it again, because then you need to learn how you can now implement these kind of chatbot into those kind of niches, for example. Then you have to learn, for example, for the content creation side, okay, now I'm working with like an real estate business. Tomorrow I'm working with like a solar company. So you have to adapt and switch the strategy on how you can create the content, because it's completely different again, because it's a whole different industry and a whole different case. Okay, so even after you have a client, you need to learn everything from scratch again, implement it for every new client again. So this will lead to long onboarding cycles, delayed money, and unsatisfied customers. Okay, and since you're not able to charge high retainers for this, because you're competing with anybody else out there, you will have low retainers, low revenue, and this will lead to not being able to hire a freelancer who can do all the implementation and like the fulfillment for you. And if you have some money to hire somebody, then you are only able to get beginner freelancers who are not really able to get great results. And this is like a downward spiral, because then you get not great results, you are not able to charge higher prices, you have unsatisfied customers, so you have less money, and then the cycle repeats, right? And other way around, it would be like an upward spiral. So if you have high retainers, you would be able to hire good freelancers. So you get better results. So you get more satisfied customers, you get better testimonials, and you can increase the price because you know that you get them greater results. Okay. But in this scenario, it's like a big downward spiral. Okay. And there is one solution to fix all of these. And I talked about it a lot recently. But basically, you want to have one niche and one service. Okay. But this is still not enough, because even if you only provide one service, you still compete with everyone else that also provides that one service. Okay. So if you, for example, choose solar companies as the niche and your service is running Facebook ads, then you still compete with anybody else who also runs Facebook ads, especially for solar companies. Okay. So then again, you only compete on price and experience. So you either have to have the best case studies out there, or you need to have a really low price that they will choose you. Both of them is something that, first of all, like you never want to have a low price. As I showed you before, it's like a downward spiral. And experience, again, is a thing that you probably don't have when starting out. Okay. So the real solution is that we need to have one niche and one system. As I said, I talked about this so often in the last time, because it's like super important, and this is why most agencies fail. And this is like the new way on actually how to like build and scale an agency with like the SBA model. If you want to learn more about how like the system and everything works, then just check out one of the latest videos. I will just link it here. But basically, you want to choose one niche, for example, I don't know, real estate, and you want to provide one systemized solution for this. Okay. With one system, I still mean that you provide different services, but you know exactly which services you provide for every client. So you can package them as your own system and sell them repetitive without changing anything about what you offer for the next client, right? So in order to make it pretty simple, this is like the workflow that you should follow. Okay. First of all, you stick to one niche. So you choose one niche. Then you find a chain of problems. For example, like I will show you the example in just a second, but you find like different problems that they have, like multiple problems in a row that you can solve multiple problems, not just one problem. So you're more valuable and you can fix these problems in a row that you can offer like an infrastructure to solve those problems. As I said, it will be super simple in just a second, but yeah, just listen out for now. Then we find a chain of solutions for those problems. So after we found multiple problems in a row, we find out how to solve those problems. Okay. Then we build out the solution once. So after we know exactly how we can solve those problems, we map out the solution, for example, with different AI services, with ads and stuff like that. And after this solution is built out once, we just frame everything as our own system. And then we start doing the outreach. And while doing the outreach, we actually adapt the system so we can charge higher retainers afterwards. Okay. So I will visualize everything for you now that you understand what like these different stages mean. But basically, first of all, we choose the niche. For example, in this case, real estate. And then we find the different problems that they have. Okay. For example, the first problem that they have is they need to get more leads. The second problem is that they need to qualify those leads. And the third problem is that they need to book the appointments with those leads. Okay, so we find at least 2 or 3 problems that they have, and all the problems should be connected, and it should be like a chain of problems. So after the first problem is fixed, after they have enough leads, for example, the next problem is that they need to qualify the leads. And after the leads are qualified, the next problem is that they need to book them into the calendar. Okay. After we found out the chain of problems, this works for any niche, by the way, we find out how to solve those problems. For example, the first problem is that they need to get more leads. The solution would be running Facebook ads for them. Okay. The next problem is that they need to qualify the leads and book them. So the solution here would be an AI chatbot who qualifies the leads and books them. Okay. So we just find the logical solutions for all these problems. And once you found the solutions, it will be either different services or different softwares that you combine in a unique way in order to solve the problem. Okay. Super important here. Yeah, you're still offering different services, but now you systemize those services, because now you know exactly that for every client you run Facebook ads, and then you have an AI bot, for example, who qualifies and books the leads. So it's not about learning all the different things, but only learning these things that are part of your system that you can implement them within minutes into a new client's business. Okay. And then we just set up the solution once. For example, for this scenario, we would, for example, set up the ad manager once, that we have a ready ad manager to take over clients. And we build the chatbot once. So we just use NetN, go high level, whatever you want to use. You just figure out how you can set up like an AI chatbot who qualifies and books appointments. And after you have the solution mapped out once, that you could potentially implement it in a client's business, then we just start to frame it as a system. So we just give it a name, for example, the estate system, whatever, right? And then we have our own system, the estate system, which, for example, concludes running Facebook ads and having an AI chatbot who qualifies and books the appointments. And then we just start doing the outreach. So we just do, for example, LinkedIn outreach and cold calls, and we charge high retainers like 2.5K a month. So we are able to, first of all, hire freelancers who can do the service implementation for us, for example, who can run the Facebook ads for us. And we can actually grow and build a healthy business because we have enough cash flow to hire and like do stuff with the money, right? So super important here. We still offer services, but we offer services in a systemized way so that we only have to set them up once, and then we have a functional system that we can implement in other people's businesses without learning everything about these areas. So we do not even need to learn much about AI. We just need to figure out how we can build an AI chatbot who qualifies and books appointments, build it out once so we can immediately start with the outreach. Okay. And finding the niche, the problems, the solutions, and setting up the solution should not take longer than 1 or 2 weeks, because it's pretty simple, right? And then you just start doing the outreach and you adapt the system based on feedback on the site. Okay, so you keep doing the outreach, and for example, they mention in the outreach, hey, I'm not really interested because getting leads is not something that we need to save time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then you just know, hey, maybe I can even remove the step with like getting them leads and just focus on qualifying and booking the leads into their calendar. So you just learn from the outreach, and then you adapt the system on the side and keep doing more outreach, because we want to get the first client as soon as possible and make money ASAP, right? And then it's just about selling your system like a product, okay? Because we do not need to set up everything every time again. We just have the system built out once, right? For example, the ad manager ready and like the chatbot as a template saved and ready. And then we just sell it over and over again as a product. So it only takes, 1 or 2 days to implement it into your client's business. And everything is super streamlined and simple, because now you have a systemized product that you can sell to anybody without learning everything about the service first and without adapting everything for every client over and over again. Okay, so yeah, this is basically how you can make way more money, like charging like 2.5K retainers for doing way less work, because now you just have to build out the system once, and then you only have to focus on doing the outreach. And even after you close the client, you can first of all hire a freelancer to fulfill the service. And it's pretty simple to implement everything into their business because it's already pre-built and you can just do it with 1 or 2 days. Okay, so this is how I would start, from scratch again. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.